The Safe Den, the forgotten flying technique, a calm story about floating, dreaming, and learning to trust the wind. Welcome to the Safe Den. The Safe Den is a place for children, teenagers, and adults who sometimes need somewhere gentle to land. A place where you do not have to be perfect. You do not have to be strong all the time. You do not even have to be brave right away. You may simply arrive as you are. This story is about Elian, a boy who discovers the old dream flying technique, not the kind of flying that comes from fighting your way upward, not the kind that comes from rushing, not the kind that comes from proving anything, but the quiet kind, the kind where you feel the air, where you soften your shoulders, where you drift down gently, and let the wind help you rise again. There is a kind of flying that almost every child knows before they forget it. It is not the kind with airplanes. It is not the kind with engines, loud noise, seatbelts, stairs, chairs, roofs, trees, or anything in the waking world that should ever be jumped from. No, real dream flying begins in a safe bed, beneath a warm blanket, with your body heavy and still. Your feet do not need to go anywhere. Your hands do not need to do anything. Your eyes slowly let go of the day. And when the body feels safe enough to rest, the dream may begin to lift. Long ago, before many grown-ups forgot, children knew something special. They knew that in dreams you really can fly. Not by leaping high, not by throwing yourself from anything, not by hurrying, but by feeling the air, really feeling it, as if the air were not empty at all but soft and alive. As if it could carry you, just a little, if you listened closely enough. Elian had once known this. He had not learned it at school. No teacher had written it on a board. No book had explained it with numbers, arrows, and clever diagrams. Elian had simply always felt that if he stood very still in a dream and slowly lifted his arms out to the sides, something would be waiting beneath them. Not much, just a little, like a pillow made of wind, like invisible water, like the whole world holding its breath and asking, "Are you ready?" The first time Elian almost flew, it happened in a dream where the ground was covered in moonlight. There was a meadow, and the grass was silver blue. Not cold, just quiet. Far away, small lights were scattered through the dark, as if someone had taken a handful of stars and placed them gently on the earth. Somewhere beyond the meadow there was water. Elian could hear it rocking softly, like an ocean dreaming along with him. He stood barefoot in the grass. "I think I can," Elian whispered. And then it began. Arms out, not fast, not wild, not like a frightened bird flapping in panic. Slowly, first a little down with the arms, then a little up. As if the arms were asking the air a question, not forcing it, not commanding it, just asking. Elian felt the wind beneath his palms. It was really there. A small pull came under his feet, and the grass did not feel quite so heavy anymore. His heels were the first to let go. Not his toes, only his heels, only a little, perhaps not even a whole hand's width. Elian gasped and dropped back down with a soft bump. Not a dangerous bump, just a dream bump. Then he began to laugh, because now he knew. The technique was real. But like all secret things in dreams, it could not simply be grabbed and owned. It had to be found again. It had to be listened for, practiced, remembered. Remembered by the body before the mind tried too hard. The next night Elian tried again, and the next night, and the next. Sometimes nothing happened. His arms felt heavy, and the air was only air. Sometimes there was only a tiny hop. Sometimes Elian lifted for such a short moment that he could only think now, and then he was already back on the ground. But on certain nights the feeling returned. It always began in the arms, all the way out into the hands. Not like strength, more like connection. The fingers became aware, the palms felt the currents in the air, the elbows had to be soft, not stiff. The shoulders could not climb up toward the ears. They had to fall down, and then there was the rhythm. Slowly up, slowly down, a gentle push, a waiting, then another gentle push. If Elian became too eager, the feeling vanished. If he became afraid, he sank. If he thought too hard, his arms grew clumsy. But if he thought, "I do not need to go high, just a little," then the air came closer. One night when the moon was thin like a smiling fingernail, Elian woke inside the dream on a shore. Behind him lay a dark forest, not evil, just large. Small warm lights blinked between the trees. Somewhere in there, a boy walked with a lantern in his hand. Beside him shuffled a strange little creature made of leaves and kindness. High in a tree, an owl watched as if she knew both fear and guidance. Elian did not recognize the place with words, but his heart recognized the feeling. A place where someone might get a little lost and still find the way home. In front of Elian lay the sea, and out on the sea were many islands. They were not marked with names on signs, but somehow you could feel what they were. One island held laughter and summer light. One held tall towers, glitter and tiny bridges. One held tents and campfires. One held games, soft balls, and twisty slides. And one was so round and soft that it almost had to be made from teddy bear hugs. Small dreamboats sailed between the islands. Their sails were thin as dreams. Some were so fast that they rushed past with the wind full in their cloth. Others rocked quietly, as if they were waiting for someone. Elian often stood on the shore and looked out. "I want to go there," he said. "Then fly," said a voice. Elian turned around. On a stone behind him sat a bird that did not look like an ordinary bird. She was small, but her wings were very long. She looked as if she were made from mist and feathers at the same time. She was a little silly-looking, but in a kind way. Her eyes shone like the night sky. "I cannot really fly," Elian said. "No," said the bird. "Not really. Only dream, really." "Is that enough?" Elian asked. "It is the only thing that works here," said the bird. She hopped down onto the sand. "My name is Swallow," she said. And that mattered, because a swallow is a bird that knows how to ride the air, how to turn with the wind, how to glide instead of struggle. "I guard the old flying technique," Swallow said. Elian crouched down. "Does it have a name?" "Yes," said Swallow. "It is called letting the air help." Elian felt a little disappointed. "That does not sound like a very big magical technique." Swallow blinked slowly. The biggest techniques rarely do. Then she showed him, not by flying high, not by racing up toward the stars. She spread her wings and let the wind take hold beneath them. "Do not look at my wings," Swallow said. "Look at the pause between the wing beats." Elian watched carefully. Swallow did not flap quickly. She pressed the air down, gently. Then she let herself be carried for a moment, then another push, then another pause. Push, be carried, push, be carried. "That is what many people forget," Swallow said. "They think flying means fighting your way upward. But dream flying is about noticing when the air is already ready to lift." Elian stood. "Try," said Swallow. At first, nothing happened. "Softer," said Swallow. Elian released the tension in his shoulders. "Slower," said Swallow. Elian moved his arms more slowly. "You are not trying to defeat gravity," said Swallow. "You are learning to speak with it." Elian breathed in. His arms moved down, slowly, as if his hands were pressing against something soft. Then up again. Not too high, just enough to find the air again. A little push. And then it happened. His feet lifted. The grains of sand beneath his toes slipped away. Elian rose only a little, a finger's width, then a hand's width, then perhaps the height of one whole shoe. "I am doing it," Elian whispered, and at once he fell back down. Swallow did not laugh unkindly. She laughed like tiny bells. "You thought too loudly," she said. "Can someone really do that?" "Oh yes," said Swallow. "Many fall from their own excitement." Elian smiled. Then he tried again. This time, when his feet left the sand, he did not say anything. Not even inside his head. He only felt the air, gently pushing, waiting, pushing again. Slowly, slowly, Elian rose. First as high as a pillow, then as high as a chair, then as high as a table, then a little higher than a grown-up's head. It was not high enough to be dangerous, but it was high enough for the world to change. The grass became a pattern, the shore became a soft edge, the sea seemed wider, and inside Elian's stomach a joy opened that was unlike any other joy. It was not like winning. It was not like getting something. It was not like being the best. It was like letting go of something, as if his body said, "Ah, here, there is room." But then Elian's arms grew tired. "Now you must learn the next part," said Swallow. "What is that?" "How to fall a little correctly." Elian looked down. I would rather not fall. You are not going to crash, said Swallow. You are going to drift down. Swallow flew up beside him. When you are a few meters above the ground, fold your arms in slightly. Not all the way, just softly. Let your body move forward. Look toward the horizon. Then you glide forward and downward. She turned her head. Drifting down is not failure, Elian. It is how you gather speed for the next lift. Elian did as Swallow said. Arms softly in, body a little forward, eyes toward the horizon, and then he glided. Forward, forward, slowly downward. He could feel the air beneath him. The wind brushed past his cheeks. His stomach tickled. The sea came closer, but not too quickly. Now, said Swallow. Elian opened his arms again and pushed the air down. Once, twice. Because he was already moving forward and downward, the air received him with more strength. Elian lifted again, higher than before. Not much, but enough. Yes, Elian called. This time he did not fall from excitement. This time he let the joy stay inside his body like a light. Swallow flew beside him. That is the secret, she said. You do not always rise higher by trying to go higher. Sometimes you drift gently down, gather movement, feel the wind again, and then rise higher than before. Elian understood it in the way one can only understand things in dreams. Together they flew out over the water, high enough to feel free, low enough to see the islands, the paths and the lights. Below them, small dreamboats rocked between the islands. In one boat sat a small figure with a starry sail, looking so hard toward the next exciting island that she almost sailed past someone waving from a bridge. Elian smiled. Look around, he whispered down toward the boat. Perhaps the little figure heard him, because the boat turned slightly and began to sail more slowly. Elian flew on, feeling the air carry him. He never flew all the way up to the clouds, never up to the moon, never so high that he could no longer see the paths, the lights, and the ones who waited. And that was actually the best part. Elian flew where the world could still be seen clearly. High enough to be free, low enough to stay close. They passed an island with golden lamps and small tents. A campfire glowed like a heart in the dark. Someone sat around the fire doing nothing, but in a good way, just being there. Elian drifted a little lower, not all the way down, just enough to smell smoke, warm cocoa and nightgrass. Then he spread his arms and let the wind lift him again. They passed an island with slides, tunnels, and colorful balls where laughter bounced between the little houses. They passed an island so soft that even the trees looked as if they could be hugged. Everywhere there were lights, but the islands were not the most magical thing. The most magical thing was the feeling of moving between them from above. Not trapped in one place, not forced to hurry, not alone, carried. Now, said Swallow, you must meet the Wind Weaver. Who is that? Asked Elian. He is the one who teaches you to find the right wind. Ahead of them was a place where the sea glittered more brightly than anywhere else. It was not an island. It was more like a circle of air above the water. Small threads of wind turned in patterns, and in the middle of them stood a being who was almost transparent. The Wind Weaver had hair like mist and clothing like moving clouds. His hands were long and calm, and when they moved, the wind changed direction. Welcome, little flyer, said the Wind Weaver. I am not a real flyer yet, said Elian. You are learning, said the Wind Weaver, and learning is worth far more than pretending you already know. He held out his hands. Show me your arms. Elian spread his arms. You use them almost correctly, said the Wind Weaver, but you are only searching for wind beneath you. You must also feel the wind in front of you, behind you, and beside you. Elian tried to notice it, almost like swimming. At first, there was nothing. Then there was something after all. A current by his left hand, a soft pressure near his right elbow, a cool movement in front of him, a warm breath behind his back. There, said the Wind Weaver, now you are beginning to hear the air. Hear it? Yes, said the Wind Weaver, but not with your ears, with your skin. The Wind Weaver lifted both hands, and a mild wind came gliding toward Elian. Now do not flap, he said. Let the wind find you. Elian held his arms out, as if balancing on the air beneath him. The wind came. First, Elian tilted slightly to one side. Easy, said Swallow. Elian corrected himself. The wind took hold under his arms and lifted him. Not like a hand grabbing tightly, more like a blanket slowly raised from both sides. For one moment Elian floated without pushing at all, and that moment was so quiet and so wide that he knew he would never forget it. "You cannot always do more," said the Wind Weaver. "Sometimes you must feel more." Elian nodded slowly. "Is that why flying does not work when I am in a hurry?" "Often," said the Wind Weaver. "Hurry makes the wind flat." "And fear?" asked Elian. "Fear makes the body heavy," said the Wind Weaver. "But fear is not wrong. You can say, 'I am afraid,' and still let the wind carry a little." Elian thought of the dark forest behind the shore, the boy walking with the lantern, the owl who knew about unease, and the little leaf friend who looked silly, but perhaps was not dangerous at all. So things that feel a little frightening can still help. "Yes," said the Wind Weaver, "if you pause long enough to see what they are trying to do." The wind carried Elian onward. Now there were not only islands below. There was the forest too. It spread out like a dark green sea. Between the treetops ran a narrow path, and far below Elian saw the boy with the lantern again. Milo stood at the entrance to a warm place in the forest. Beside him sat Rumble, the leaf friend. In the tree above them, Unease, the owl, sat still and awake. Elian waved, but carefully, so he would not lose his balance in the air. Milo could not see the wave, but the lantern blinked a little, as if it had felt something. "He found home," said Elian. "Yes," said Swallow, "but home is not always a place where you stay. Sometimes home is something you carry with you." They flew a little lower over the treetops. Elian could smell pine needles, earth, and night. A leaf lifted from a branch and danced beside them for a while. "Can we land there?" Elian asked. "Yes," said Swallow, "but first you must learn how to land without losing the flying." "How do you do that?" "You do not land by giving up," said Swallow. "You land by thanking the air." Elian did not understand completely, but he tried anyway. They glided downward through the cool air. Elian felt the wind beneath his arms as he held them out to slow himself. He drifted down. The trees came closer. The ground came closer. Fear also felt as if it were coming closer. "I am falling," said Elian. "No," said Swallow, "you are landing. It feels like falling." "Then breathe." Elian breathed in deeply. He lifted his arms one last time, a soft push against the air, not to rise again. Just to slow a little. Then his feet touched the moss. It was so soft it was almost silent. Elian stood still and slowly let his arms fall to his sides. In his body, the flying still hummed. It was a strange thing to discover. One could stand on the ground and still feel a little bit like flying. Beside the path stood the owl. "You are learning quickly," she said. Elian looked at her. "Are you the owl who helps people who are afraid?" "I do not help fear go away," said the owl. "I help it become small enough for someone to walk or fly onward by themselves." Elian nodded. "I became afraid when I had to land." "Many do," said the owl. "They think that when something beautiful ends, they will lose it. But some of the flying stays inside you." The owl spread her great wings. "Would you like to see?" She flew up. Not high, only onto a branch. She did it without haste, as if the air knew her well. "It is not height that makes flying free," said Unease. "It is trust." "Trust in what?" asked Elian. "In the fact that you can lift a little, drift a little, and try again." Elian placed a hand on his chest. Inside he could still feel the sea, the islands, the forest, the wind, and the secret technique. "I want to fly back," he said. "Then do it," said the owl. "But I am down now." Unease blinked. All flying begins down. Elian smiled, then he lifted his arms. Now the forest was around him, not a beach, not open sky. There were trees, branches, shadows, and paths. It was harder, but Elian did not hurry. Slowly up, slowly down with the arms. Feel the air between the fingers. Feel the air beneath the arms. Feel the wind against the cheeks. Push a little, wait. Take a new hold, push again. A leaf lifted from the ground, then another. Then Elian felt the little pull beneath his feet, and the earth let him go again. A little, only a little. Enough. Elian rose between the trees. not straight up, but in small, soft curves. A branch came too close, so he folded his arms in and glided beneath it. A clearing opened, so he spread his arms and pushed himself upward again. Push, be carried, drift, glide, lift. The forest slowly dropped beneath him, and soon the treetops looked like dark pillows in the moonlight. Beyond them lay the sea again. Push, be carried, drift, glide, lift. And the night opened before him. The islands shone, and the boat sailed on. The stars stood in the sky like quiet witnesses. Elian was not flying alone now. Swallow was there. Unease flew some distance behind, and below them small lights blinked from dens, campfires, boats and bridges. Perhaps someone on an island was waiting. Perhaps someone in a boat needed to remember to look around. Perhaps someone in a forest needed a little light. Perhaps someone in a bed somewhere in the waking world would soon dream of flying. Elian flew farther out over the sea. Now his body knew the technique, not perfectly, not always, but enough to find it again, enough to feel it. When his arms grew tired, he folded them in softly and glided downward and forward. When gentle speed returned to his body, he spread his arms again and pushed the air down. Then he rose. It was like learning a song without words. A song with the body, down, up, hold, glide, lift. And each time Elian rose again, the same freeing feeling came back, as if someone had opened a window inside him. As if everything that had been heavy did not disappear, but became easier to carry. At last they came to an island Elian had never seen before. It was small and simple. No rides, no castles, no giant teddy bears, no glowing signs. Only a round meadow in the middle of the sea with one tree and one bench beneath it. On the bench lay a feather. Swallow landed beside it. "This is the island for those who remember," she said. "Remember what?" asked Elian. "That they can do more than they think when they do it in their own way." Elian picked up the feather. It was almost weightless. "Is it magical?" "Yes," said Swallow, "but not in the way you think." "What does it do?" "It reminds you of the technique when you are beginning to forget it." Elian held the feather close. "Can I take it with me when I wake up?" "You cannot take the feather in your hand," said Swallow, "but you can take the feeling in your body." And that was true. Nothing can be carried out of Dreamland except feelings and memories. Elian closed his eyes. Feel the air, soft shoulders, open arms, a slow push, a small lift. Fold in again, glide forward, a little downward, then rise a little higher. Use the drifting down to lift again. Elian repeated it, not like a lesson, but like a secret he had learned. A secret that did not need to be hidden. A secret that could be passed on. A secret that did not need to be forgotten. Swallow nodded. "It will soon be morning." Elian looked up. The edge of the world had grown lighter. The islands softened in color. The boats moved more slowly. The forest sighed, as if it were turning over in its sleep. "I do not want to go all the way home yet," said Elian. "You do not have to," said Swallow. "Dreams you have loved stay for a while. They sit in the body when you wake, like warmth in your toes, like light behind your eyes, like the feeling that you could almost fly if only you remembered how." Elian smiled. "Will I dream this again?" "If you call softly," said Swallow. "How?" Swallow folded her wings close. "When you are safe in your bed, do not imagine jumping. Do not imagine falling. Imagine standing barefoot on a soft meadow in moonlight. Imagine that the air is alive and that your arms are light. You do not need to go high, only a little." Elian listened. "Then move your arms slowly in your mind," said Swallow. "Down and up. Not fast, not hard, just enough to feel the wind beneath your palms as if you are pressing yourself upward. And when your feet let go, just a little, stay calm. Do not shout, 'I am doing it,' too loudly inside your head. Smile and let the air help." "And what if I fall down?" "Then you land softly and try again." "And if I forget the technique?" "Then the wind will remember you." Elian looked out over the islands one last time. There were the boats, there were the lights, there was the forest, and there was the owl. There was the warm den. There were all the places one could fly to, sail to, get lost in, and find home again. And over everything lay a great quiet safety. As if the world were saying, "You may dream, you may fly, you may land, you may try again." When Elian woke, his body lay heavy and good in the bed. The room was completely still. Morning had not quite begun. Elian did not lift his arms for real. He did not need to. His body only needed to rest. But inside his thoughts, he could still feel it. The air beneath his hands, the gentle push, the slow rising, the small drifting down, the new lift. And all through the day, whenever something felt difficult, Elian could think, I do not need to reach the clouds. Only a little. I can lift a little, drift a little, try again. And perhaps that is true for much more than flying. Perhaps we do not learn everything by pushing hard. Perhaps we learn some things by feeling our way. Perhaps we do not always move forward by rushing. Perhaps we can float a little when we dare to trust the air in front of us, the pause, and the next gentle push. And if one night you are lying safely in bed, feeling sleep come close, perhaps you too will find the forgotten flying technique. Do not search too fiercely. Just imagine a meadow, a faraway sea, small islands filled with lights, a forest with an owl, a path with a lantern, and a wind that does not want to push you away, but lift you gently. In the dream, raise your arms slowly, feel the air, push a little. Wait, then push again, and if your feet leave the ground even a tiny bit, stay calm. Then you have remembered it. The secret old way, the soft way, not to escape, not to disappear, but to be carried a little while you can still see everything. And when you float forward, gently downward, do not be afraid of drifting down. It is not the end. It is the path to the next lift. That is how one flies in dreams. A little up, a little down, a little forward, and then up again. Not the highest, not the fastest, just free. And perhaps somewhere between the stars and the glowing islands, others are flying that way too. Not alone, each in their own way, and yet together beneath the same dream sky. With wind beneath their arms, with calm in their bodies, with a secret in their hearts, and with the whole night open before them. Good night, sleep very well. Thank you for listening in the safe den. May you always remember the soft way, to feel what is there, to take your time, and to let the wind help you onward.